part 3 of readings of the Golden Bough, because I don't know why, but my laptop just randomly stopped filming, and Charlie didn't hit any buttons, I didn't hit any buttons, but it just went kaput on me. So this is now part 3. So as always, greetings from sacred space at Titania's realm, and the time is 7:18 p.m. on the 5th of October 2024. There's only a few pages left of that chapter on the public expulsion of evil, but it ground my gears, so I've decided to continue on and complete the task, complete the mission. Your mission, Tanya Aarons, the psychedelic dreamer, if you choose to accept it, is to complete the task. So here we are. We're on page 729 of the Golden Bough, reading the chapter of the public expulsion of evils. And we had just, I'll have to go back to the previous paragraph because for the sake of continuity, so we don't all go insane. So among the Hos or Hos of northeastern India, the great festival of the year is the harvest time, held in January, when the granaries are full of grain and the people, to use their own expression, are full of devilry. Just turn this a little bit more this way. Right. They have a strange notion that at this period men and women are so overcharged with vicious propensities that it is absolutely necessary for the safety of the person to let off steam by allowing for a full-time vent to the passions. By allowing for a time full vent to the passions. Goodness me, I'm really struggling today. I must be really tired. But forging ahead as per usual. Richard wanted me to come dancing again tonight. So, well, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, unfortunately. The ceremonies open with a sacrifice to the village god of 3 fowls, a cock and 2 hens, one of which must be black. Along with them are offered flowers of the palace tree, Butea frondosa, bread made from rice flour and sesame seeds. These offerings are presented by the village priest, who prays that during the year about to begin, they and their children may be preserved from all misfortune and sickness, and that they may have reasonable rain and good crops. Prayer is also made in some places for the souls of the dead. At this time, an evil spirit is supposed to infest the place, and to get rid of it, men, women and children go in procession round and through every part of the village, with sticks in their hands as if beating for game, singing a wild chant and chanting vociferously, till they feel assured that the evil spirit must have fled. Then they give themselves up to feasting and drinking rice beer, till they are in a fit state for the wild debauch which follows. The festival now becomes a Saturnalia, during which servants forget their duty to their masters, children their reverence for parents, men their respect for women, and women all notions of modesty, delicacy, and gentleness. They become raging bacchantes. Usually the Hos are quiet and reserved in manner, decorous and gentle to women, but during this festival their natures appear to undergo a temporary change. Sons and daughters revile their parents in gross language, and parents their children. Men and women become almost like animals in the indulgence of their amorous propensities. I won't say it. I'll be good. I'll be good. Hmm. The let me see. Mandaras, kinsmen and neighbours of the hosts, keep the festival in much the same manner. The resemblance to a Saturnalia is very complete, as at this festival the farm labourers are feasted by their masters and allow the utmost freedom of speech in addressing them. It is the festival of the harvest home, the termination of 1 year's toil and a slight respite from it before they commence again. Amongst some of the Hindu Kush tribes, as among the Hos and Mundaras, the expulsion of devils takes place after harvest. When the last crop of autumn has been got in, it is thought necessary to drive away evil spirits from the granaries. A kind of porridge is eaten, and the head of the family takes his matchlock and fires it into the floor. Then going outside, he sets to work loading and firing till his powder horn is exhausted, whilst all his neighbours are similarly employed. The next day is spent in rejoicings. In Chitral, this festival is called devil driving. On the other hand, the Khons of Khonds of India expel the devils at seed time instead of at harvest. At this time they worship Piteri, my eyes are blurring, Piteri Penu, the god of increase and of gain in every shape. On the first day of the festival, a rude car is made of a basket set upon a few sticks, tied upon bamboo rollers for wheels. The priest takes this car first to the house of the lineal head of the tribe, to whom precedence is given in all ceremonies connected with agriculture. Here he receives a little of each kind of seed and some feathers. He then takes the car to all the other houses in the village, each of which contributes the same things. Lastly, the car is conducted to a field without the village. I think he means outside of the village. Attended by all the young men, who beat each other and strike the air violently with long sticks. The seed thus carried out is called the share of the evil spirits, spoilers of the seed. These are considered to be driven out with the car, and when it and its contents are abandoned to them, they are held to have no excuse for interfering with the rest of the seed corn. The people of Bali, an island to the east of Java, which is now known as Indonesia, but I guess Java's still be its original name. Or part of Indonesia anyway, Java. I'm right though, aren't I? I have to ask Rati. Have periodical expulsions of devils upon a great scale. Generally the time chosen for the expulsion is the day of the dark moon in the 9th month, when the demons have been long unmolested. The country is said to be warm, and the priest issues orders to expel them by force, lest the whole of Bali should be rendered uninhabitable. On the day appointed, the people of the village or district assemble at the principal temple. Here at a crossroad offerings, I wish he'd use grammar for the love of all the gods. Here at a crossroad, offerings are set out for the devils. After prayers have been recited by the priests, the blast of a horn summons the devils to partake of the meal which has been prepared for them. At the same time, a number of men step forward and light their torches at the holy lamp which burns before the chief priest. Immediately afterwards, followed by the bystanders, they spread in all directions and march through the streets and lanes, crying, "Depart, go away." Wherever they pass, the people who have stayed at home hasten by a deafening clatter on doors, beams, rice box, and so forth, to take their share in the expulsion of devils. Thus, chased from the houses, the fiends the fiends flee to the banquet which has been set out for them. But here the priest receives them with curses which finally drive them from the district. When the last devil has taken his departure, the uproar is succeeded by a dead silence which lasts during the next day also. The devils, it is thought, are anxious to return to their old homes, and in order to make them think that Bali is not Bali, but some desert island, no one may stir from his own abode for 24 hours. Even ordinary household work, including cooking, is discontinued. Only the watchmen may show themselves in the streets. Wreaths of thorns and leaves are hung at all the entrances to warn strangers from entering. Not till the third day is the state of siege raised, and even then it is forbidden to work at the rice fields or to buy and sell in the market. Many people still stay at home, whiling away the time with cards and dice. In Tonquin, a Thekidor, or general expulsion of malevolent spirits, commonly took place once a year, especially if there was a great mortality amongst men, the elephants or horses of the general stable, or the cattle of the country, the cause of which they attribute to the malicious spirits of such men as have been put to death for treason, rebellion, and conspiring the death of the king, general, or princes, and that in revenge of the punishment they have suffered, they are bent to destroy everything and commit horrible violence. To prevent which their superstition has suggested to them, the institution of this Thekidor is a proper means to drive the devil away and purge the country of evil spirits. The day appointed for this ceremony was generally the 25th of February, 1 month after the beginning of the new year, which fell on the 25th of January. The intermediate month was a season of feasting, merrymaking of all kinds, and general license. During the whole month, the Great Seal was kept shut up in a box face downwards, and the law was, as it were, laid asleep. In courts of all courts of justice were closed. Debtors could not be seized. Small crimes such as petty larceny, fighting, and assault escaped with impunity. Only treason and murder were taken account of, and the malefactors detained till the Great Seal should come into operation again. At the close of the Saturnalia, the wicked spirits were driven away. Great masses of troops and artillery having been drawn up with flying colours and all the pomp of war. The general beginneth then to offer meat offerings to the criminal devils and malevolent spirits, for it is usual and customary likewise amongst them to feast the condemned before their execution, inviting them to eat and drink, when presently he accuses them in a strange language, by characters and figures, etc., of many offences and crimes committed by them, as to their having disquieted the land, killed his elephants and horses, etc., for all which they justly deserve to be chastised, and banished from the country. Whereupon 3 great guns are fired as the last signal, upon which all the artillery and muskets are discharged, that by their most terrible noise the devils may be driven away, and they are so blind as to believe for certain that they really and effectually put them into flight. In Cambodia, the expulsion of evil spirits took place in March. Bits of broken statues and stones, considered as the abode of the demons, were collected and brought to the capital. Here as many elephants were collected as could be got together. On the evening of the full moon, volleys of musketry were fired, and the elephants charged furiously to put the devils into flight. The ceremony was performed on 3 successive days. In Siam, the banishment of demons is annually carried into effect on the last day of the old year. A signal gun is fired from the palace. It is answered from the next station, and so on, from station to station, till the firing has reached the outer gate of the city. Thus the demons are driven out step by step. As soon as this is done, a consecrated rope is fastened round the circuit of the city walls to prevent the banished demons from returning. The rope is made of tough couch grass and is painted in alternate stripes of red, yellow and blue. Annual expulsions of demons, witches or evil influences appear to have been common among the heathen of Europe, if we may judge from the relics of such customs among their descendants in the present day. Thus among the heathen Wotyaks, a Finnish people of eastern Russia, all the young girls of the village assemble on the last day of the year or on New Year's Day, armed with sticks, the ends of which are split in 9 places. With these they beat every corner of the house and yard, saying, "We are driving Satan out of the village." Afterwards the sticks are thrown into the river below the village, and as they float downstream, Satan goes with them to the next village, from which he must be driven out in turn. In some villages, the expulsion is managed otherwise. The unmarried men receive from every house in the village groats, flesh and brandy. By flesh I presume they mean meat. Well, they could mean skins from animals too, I guess, but then you'd call it hides, wouldn't you? Well, anyway, these they take to the fields, light a fire under a fir tree, boil the groats, and eat of the food they have brought with them, after pronouncing the words, "Go away into the village, and into every house where there are young women." They take hold of the young women and throw them into the snow, saying, "May the spirits of disease leave you." The remains of the groats and the other food are then distributed among all the houses in proportion to the amount that each contributed, and each family consumes its share. According to a Watiok of Malmege district, the young men throw into the snow whomever they find in the houses, and this is called driving out Satan. Moreover, some of the boiled groats are cast into the fire with the words, O God, afflict us not with sickness and pestilence. Give us not up as a prey to the spirits of the wood. But the most antique form of the ceremony is that observed by the Watiaks of the Kasan government. First of all, a sacrifice is offered to the devil at noon. Then all the men assemble on horseback in the centre of the village and decide with which house they shall begin. When this question, which often gives rise to hot disputes, is settled, they tether their horses to the paling and arm themselves with whips, clubs of lime wood, and bundles of lighted twigs. The lighted twigs are believed to have the greatest terrors for Satan. Thus armed, they proceed with frightful cries to beat every corner of the house and yard, then shut the door and spit at the ejected fiend. So they go from house to house till the devil has been driven from every one. Then they mount their horses and ride out of the village, yelling wildly and brandishing their clubs in every direction. Outside of the village, they fling away the clubs and spit once more at the devil. The Cheremiss, another Finnish people of eastern Russia, chase Satan from their dwellings by beating the walls with cudgels of lime wood. For the same purpose they fire guns, stab the ground with knives, and insert burning chips of wood in the crevices. Also, they leap over bonfires, shaking out their garments as they do so, and in some districts they blow on long trumpets of lime tree bark to frighten him away. When he has fled to the wood, they pelt the trees with some of the cheesecakes and eggs which furnish the feast. In Christian Europe, the old heathen custom of expelling the powers of evil at certain times of the year has survived to modern times. Thus, in some villages in Calabria, the month of March is inaugurated with the expulsion of the witches. It takes place at night to the sound of church bells, the people running about the streets and crying, "March has come." They say that the witches roam about in March, and the ceremony is repeated every Friday evening during the month. Alas, as might have been anticipated, the ancient pagan rite has attached itself to church festivals. So that's kind of got me thinking about witches roaming about in March, because my father died on the 2nd of March, just a few days shy of his, the night of the 2nd and 3rd of March, a few days shy of his 89th birthday on the 6th of March. My mother died on the 7th of March, and my grandmother's suicide was the 8th of March. And my grandmother and mother were both witches, and my father, I guess, I wouldn't exactly call him a witch, but he was definitely into the occult and a spiritualist until he converted Baptist when he married his second wife, and by then he was quite old already. But anyway, it was odd. Just made me wonder. Hope I don't die in March. My birthday's in April, so maybe I'll just pop my clogs on my birthday or do something really dramatic like that. Wouldn't that piss off my kids? Happy birthday, Mum, you bastard. You died on your birthday. It's a bit inconvenient. My mum almost died on my father's birthday, and I was very stressing about it actually, because she was very close to death, and could happen at any time. And I knew, by then I already knew that my grandmother's suicide had occurred on the 8th of March, but I found that only like a short time before that, before my mother's death. So I was sitting there counting the fucking days, really traumatised, watching my mother, dying basically, and thinking if she dies on my father's birthday, she's going to be livid because she hated my father, right? Well, they had a love-hate relationship, really. They remained friends. They kind of remained friends, but it was a weird friendship. But he couldn't stay away from my mother. He adored my mother. I worked it out later on. It was like an obsession in a way. I thought, that's probably why I'm so fucked up with all my romantic love life, because I had all that programming. Hopefully I've broken that chain now, because I'm trying very hard to just be more detached and more sanguine and not cling on and not freak out at every little thing. But it's hard for me because a lot of emotional damage and trauma issues. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes. So I was conscious. This was around about, would have been around, because Case's birthday was the 28th of February as well. I call it the 10 days of awe, the 10 days of ghastly horror, dealing with all this confluence of birth dates and death dates, and they all happen within the same 10 days. So I thought, what am I going to do? I've got no control over when my mother dies, because the soul chooses its own timing, It's like being born. You don't have a lot of say over it unless you get euthanized or murdered by someone. But I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I didn't know what to do. Mum was already pretty much comatose. So I went to the old people's home, and she was in the Moreton Bay nursing care unit. Oh, anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, I went to see her and just kind of quietly said to her, Mum, it's nearly David Phillips's birthday on the 6th, and it's your mother's suicide on the 8th. And I said, I know how much you hated Dad, so can you just do me a favour, Mum? It sounded selfish, but the reason was the spiritual meaning behind it. I didn't want her dying on his birthday. And I just kind of said to her, Mum, you've got to pick your own day and your own time, but can you try and not do it on David Phillips' birthday, because it'll piss you off for eternity, but it'll also piss me off for eternity. I just kind of saw the funny side of it, and I didn't think it would make a difference, but even in a coma, people can still kind of, I don't know how much you can process when you've got advanced Alzheimer's, but normal people can still hear and still process what's being said. So anyway, I just gave it a try, just for the sake of heaven, just to save one less trauma, right? And anyway, I got the phone call on the 7th to come down, but they only gave me, they were supposed to give me like 2 hours notice. They only gave me like 10 minutes. And of course it takes 20 minutes to drive to Wynnum from where I live. So I drove there expecting to find Mum still alive and me to be able to be at her bedside for actual passing. She was already dead in that short time frame that they gave me to get there. The fucking bastards. That was really traumatic too, because I running in to go and sit with her and found her corpse. I was so upset about that. But anyway, the happy thing about my mother's death was she did indeed choose her own day in between my father's birthday and her mother's suicide. So they got their own special day kind of thing where no one's impacting on the other. And yeah, that seemed very fitting to my mind. And yeah, it was amazing how she must have understood, or her spirit understood. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to bring that into it because here they're saying all the bitches run around in March and mine all pop their clogs in March, or it's kind of odd. Although Case died in November, 25th of November. But anyway. So I'll repeat that sentence again. They say that the witches roam about in March, and the ceremony is repeated every Friday evening during the month. Often, as might have been anticipated, the ancient pagan rite has attached itself to church festivals. In Albania on Easter Eve, the young people light torches of resinous wood and march in processions, swinging them through the village. At last they throw the torches into the river, crying, "Ha, Kore! We throw you into the river like these torches, that you may never return." Silesian peasants believe that on Good Friday the witches go their rounds and have great powerful mischief. Well, mine tried to drag me to the Lutheran church for Good Friday when I was about 16. I was like, I don't want to go to church. I'm not a Christian. I'm going to be a Jew when I grow up. My mother's like, shut up now and you go to church. So off we went to the Lutheran church because I didn't dare fight my mother because she was a violent woman and crazy. So there was that. And so we go, it was for Good Friday. And the Lutheran church, it's a Protestant church. Actually, Martin Luther was the founder of the Protestant religion, right? Because he defied the Catholic Church. He didn't like the idea of having to buy favours and indulgences for your sins, and started this whole new movement. But anyway, so Lutheran churches are very Spartan, just wooden pews, and there's no idols around. It's very, very kind of weird like that. Not like Catholic churches have got all these beautiful things of Mary and Jesus and other saints. And so anyway, we go to, me very grudgingly and against my own will actually, we go to the Lutheran church for this Good Friday service that my mother, gnashing her teeth, demanded we go to. I said, what for? You haven't been to church in 10 years. We're going and that's it, she said. I don't know what that was about to this day, to be honest. So anyway, we march in there, literally march in. My mother very German and me trawling behind her, always feeling fucking embarrassed to be seen with her in public, especially at that age because she was just so obnoxious. And we go, we sort of look around, and there were a few, not very many people there, but I wasn't bothered by that so much. I was just thinking, how the hell am I going to get through this and keep a straight face, So we sit down in this very basic wooden pew, and then this very tall Viking-looking man, enormous he was, very enormous man, about the same age as my mother, maybe a little bit younger because I had an older mother, comes in with his two teenage boys. And of course the boys see me and immediately their eyes go swing because they're thinking, oh great, there's a teenage girl we can talk to and, befriend and perv on basically. And all I could think of was, oh dear God, why am I in this situation? And now I'm going to have to deal with two teenage boys. So I'm just sitting there, doing my classic Tanya whatevering, but without the hand movements, just in my head. I'm thinking, oh, just let the ground swallow me the fuck up, Anyway, the father of the boys looks at me, sends the boys to sit in beside me, and I was just like, oh dear God, And he's an enormous, big, tall Viking-looking man. I think he was Danish. And because in the Lutheran Church, a lot of the people are either Germanic or Scandinavian. You get some Dutch, but the Dutch tend to be Calvinists. But, it's usually from that part of Northern Europe, the Germanic type peoples that tend to be Lutheran. Not always, but just as a general rule of thumb. So anyway, he gets in, shuffles the boys across, gives me kind of a paternalistic smirk and thinking, oh, don't you dare, don't you fucking dare, I'm all rigid, already traumatised, ready for anything, 'cause my rotten fucking family. I don't need any more of this, especially in a Christian church. Am I right? I mean, it really is demonic. So anyway, but here's the funny thing. I think I've told this story in one of my videos before, so I'm repeating.